Hey guys, Joe here. Today I want to talk a little bit about E3. E3 is a big sort of press thing that goes on every year where they announce new video games, new console information, add-ons to consoles. It's just a big sort of thing involving video games, and it's one of my favorite things every single year, just looking and waiting and speculating on what things they can announce, sequels to my favorite games, new things, new titles, new console information, and I was really excited for this year, and I watched all the press conferences. Last year's E3 was a little bit sort of... I didn't like last year's E3 as much, mainly because it was a lot of console news, and I'm not as interested in the console news. I'm interested in the games, and that's my favorite thing about E3. And I really liked E3 this year because they talked a lot about the games. Like I said, I watched all of the press conferences, Microsoft's, Sony's, EA, Ubisoft, and Nintendo. Not in that order, I don't think. And I took down notes of like all the games they announced and stuff like that. And I'm just going to talk about a little bit of those. Starting with the Xbox press conference, because that was first. The games the Xbox press conference announced was, or not announced, but showed footage of. They showed footage of the new Call of Duty game, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. They showed some footage of Forza Horizon 2, a game called Evolve from the makers of Left 4 Dead, Assassin's Creed Unity, Dragon Age Inquisition, Sunset Overdrive. They announced some DLC for Dead Rising 3. They announced a game sort of like Dance Central called Disney Fantasia Music Evolved. They announced another Dance Central game called Dance Central Spotlight. They announced Fable Legends. They announced some add-ons to Project Spark. They announced a game called Ori and the Blind Forest. They announced the Halo the Master Chief Collection, which is really, really cool, and I'll talk about in a minute. They announced a game called Inside, Rise of the Tomb Raider, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, Phantom Dust, Tom Clancy's The Division, which they announced last year, but they showed some footage of this year, Scalebound, and Crackdown, which is, I guess, just a remake, or not a remake, but a reboot of the original Crackdown game, so it's just starting the series over, I'm pretty sure. Going to talk about the ones that I have notes for, the ones that I actually cared about. I don't have information on all of them, mainly because a lot of them just showed gameplay and didn't sort of give any information. They just showed you so you can get a feel of what it's going to be like. Call of Duty, to be honest, I wasn't really excited about Call of Duty at all. I was a Call of Duty fanboy back in the day, and as back in the day, I mean like MW3, Black Ops, early Black Ops 2. I kind of lost my interest in Call of Duty just because like all of my friends stopped playing, and I enjoy playing Call of Duty as sort of like a friendship experience. And we hop on every once in a while, but we don't very often. But this looked really good. It wasn't any multiplayer or gameplay. Like, they usually don't show that at E3. They only show campaign, but the campaign looked really interesting, and it looked different enough from Call of Duty to seem sort of interesting and intriguing, but close enough to Call of Duty that it still felt the same and close to my heart. It looked really cool, to be honest. I'm not even gonna lie. It's better than some of the footage they showed. It's better than the Ghost footage they showed last year. And of course, like every other year, Xbox players get add-ons first, so that was announced. Then they announced Forza Horizon 2, and that's going to be an open-world driving game, and apparently it's going to have dedicated servers, 1080p, so that's going to be cool, and they have like 200 cars to pick from when it comes to driving. The next game is Evolve, which, like I said, is from the makers of Left 4 Dead, and it's sort of like Left 4 Dead in the aspect that you play as 4 characters. There are 4 characters you can play as. The characters are a medic, a support, an assault, or a trapper, and I guess those are classes. And you fight monsters, basically, and it looks really, really cool. If it's anything as like Left 4 Dead, I'm going to enjoy it, because I absolutely love Left 4 Dead, and it's one of my favorite multiplayer games, and games in general. Next game was Assassin's Creed Unity, one of the biggest sort of showcases of the event, because they showed that you can now create your own brotherhood and play with 3 friends on Xbox Live, so now I'm assuming you can play the story with 3 other people. And that's really, really cool, the fact that you can play through as your assassin in the game with your friends, and that is so freaking... it's really cool. The next game, they showed footage, well, they showed footage of all of them, but the next game that I actually took interest in was Sunset Overdrive. It looks really, really cool. It's like a shooter, but it's sort of an interesting shooter. It's an interesting take on it nonetheless. It's made by the people over at Insomniac Games, I believe. It looks really, really badass. Basically, you fight mutants that have taken over this place called Sunset City, and it's really interesting. They showed a boss-type creature called a Herker. It's like a big mutant. Kind of reminds me of like the tank from Left 4 Dead. It's huge, and you kind of had to shoot it a lot to take it down. They're going to have an 8-player multiplayer called Chaos Mode, where you basically just try to hold a position, I guess. And that's going to be released October 28th of this year, so I'm looking forward to that. I am really wanting to get an Xbox One just so I can play that game, to be honest. They announced some DLC for Dead Rising 3. And I am going to say this name right now because it's a really ridiculous name to say. The DLC is called Super Ultra Dead Rising 3 Arcade Remix Hyper Edition EX Plus Alpha. That made me laugh quite a bit when they announced that, just because of how ridiculous it is. It's sort of like an arcade sort of type of game where you pick one of the 4 protagonists. I know 3 of them. I don't recognize the female. You play as the 3 protagonists from the other Dead Rising games, including this one. And there's a 4th character that I can't place because I never played Dead Rising. It's just sort of like an arcade-style game, and it looks really, really cool. And apparently you can dress up as your favorite Capcom character, so that'll be interesting. Like I said, they announced Disney Fantasia Music Evolved, which it's just going to be sort of a Dance Central type game. Dance Central Spotlight was the Dance Central game, and it's only going to be available to people on the Xbox market. So, you can't buy it in stores, is what I'm saying. If you're a Dance Central fan and you want to play this new Dance Central, you have to get it online in the marketplace. They announced Fable Legends, a new Fable game, finally, and apparently in this one you can play as the villain, which is a really cool concept, taking it from the old Fable games. And the villain controls the level, basically, and tries to beat the heroes in any way he really can, so... voice crack. In any way he really can, so... he's going to be throwing things at the heroes left and right, trying to stop them, and it's really up to them to try to get through the level, avoiding all of his sort of tactics, and beat him. So that's kind of cool. Stuff they announced from Project Spark is like multiplayer, some co-op campaign stuff. They introduced something called Galaxies. I'm not sure what they are, but they're there nonetheless. And Conker as a playable character. I know Conker hasn't been in a game in a really, really, really long time, but you can play him in Project Spark now, so that's... I guess that's the closest you're going to get to Conker in another game. This is literally the biggest note section of my entire notes. Halo the Master Chief Collection. What this is a re-release of all 4 Halo games, or all the numbered Halo games, I should say. So Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, and Halo 4. You can play all of those on one disc. One disc, and it's only costing $60. That is insane. They're doing Halo 2, and they're making it an anniversary edition, sort of like they did Halo 1. They're retouching it up, so it's going to have super better graphics. They're redoing all the maps so they're look really nice for modern day graphics, or you can just play them sort of old school, how it looked in the old days, and you can just switch between the two. They're remaking 10 Halo 2 multiplayer maps from the ground up. I'm not sure which ones they are, but they're taking 10 of them and redoing them in HD graphics and sort of that, and making them look nice. They're doing 100 multiplayer maps, so every Halo map ever is going to be in this whole thing's multiplayer. They're relaunching Halo 2's multiplayer exactly as it was 10 years ago. So Halo 2 multiplayer will be back up on the Xbox One when Halo the Master Chief Collection is launched. It'll be 1080p, 60 frames a second on dedicated servers. They say that probably won't happen. If they do, I'll be very impressed. It ships with 4,000 gamer score, comes with Halo Nightfall, which is like a sort of TV series that they're developing, and also with Halo the Master Chief Collection comes Halo 5 Guardians Beta, which launches in December. So if you own the Halo Master Chief Collection, you get to play the Halo 5 Guardians Beta early. That's a really, really cool perk for $60. Like, I genuinely want to get an Xbox One because that is way too good of a deal not to get. $60 for 4 games, new things, a beta, that's insane. Yeah, that's just really, really crazy. Next up was the EA press conference. They started off their press conference. Can't say press today. They started off their press conference with some footage of some Star Wars Battlefront, which looked really cool. I don't think it was all finished footage, but it looked really cool nonetheless. Then they actually showed some more of Dragon Age Inquisition, which I talked about in the Microsoft thing. They showed some stuff from the new Mass Effect game, The Sims 4, UHC, NHL 15, an untitled Criterion Games game, which they just showed some pre-dev stuff. They showed some stuff from PGA Tour, Madden 15, Dawngate, which I believe is a MOBA, Mirror's Edge 2, FIFA 15, and Battlefield Hardline, which is the next Battlefield game in the thing. So, let's talk about the things that I have notes for. They talked some more about Dragon Age Inquisition, as I said before, and apparently the game, you sort of play as a character called the Inquisitor, who can't remember his past, and basically you can choose his past, or not you choose his past, you choose his path sort of through the game and how his future develops. And apparently, I never played a Dragon Age game before, so I wouldn't know personally, but apparently they changed something with the combat system, so you can play with combat with a tactical camera, which apparently removes time as a factor, so that's a thing now. When it comes to Mass Effect, they showed some sort of concept art, and they laid down a sort of idea, a basic idea of how the new Mass Effect game is going. So apparently in the new Mass Effect game, they're taking you into like the far reaches of space that they've never been before. So there's just this whole collection of new worlds that you can visit. And that'll be a really interesting thing to add to the Mass Effect world, because, you know, there's already preconceived planets that you can visit in the old Mass Effect games, but now there are new ones that you can visit and explore, so that'll add a new dynamic. With The Sims 4, apparently there's going to be smarter Sims. Apparently Sims were dumb before, but now they're going to be smarter. They also added some new character creation stuff, so apparently you can pick his personality traits, his or her. You can pick their personality traits and sort of determine how they're going to act, whether they're clumsy or lame or whatever. And apparently now personality, the Sims personality specifically, drives story. So the story that you end up playing is derived strictly from the personality that you give your Sim. So you have a bigger hand in where the sort of Sim thing goes, more so than ever now. And apparently in the menu you can choose to use other people's made Sims, so that's kind of really cool. I'm gonna pretty much skip over all the sports games, because, you know, or not all of them, but a few of them. UFC, it's really, really cool. It's like UFC games in the past. They've added Bruce freaking Lee as a playable character. That's really exciting. Can't wait to play that. NHL 15, it's just NHL 14 with better graphics. The Untitled Criterion Games game, I'm assuming it's going to be sort of a racing game, because they showed a bunch of different vehicles and test footage, and it looked really cool. PGA Tour, for people that are fans of PGA games, apparently now there's no load time between holes, so you just skip right from one hole to the next one, so I guess that's kind of convenient if I played it. And you get to choose between real world and fantasy courses, so now there's the preconceived courses that are based on real life that everybody wants to play on but can't, and now there are going to be fantasy courses. And the footage they showed for the fantasy course was a guy sort of doing a backswing with his golf club. He hit a ball and it flew over a battleship. That looked freaking awesome. I'm not interested in golf in the slightest, but because of that one little clip of footage, I'm actually really, really sort of interested in this now, just to see where it goes. Madden 15, apparently they did some improvements to defensive play, so I guess that's good. I was never a Madden fan, and they showed some more player emotions and reactions to things, so that'd be cool. Mirror's Edge 2, they showed some sort of in-development footage of, and it's really, really cool. I'm really excited for it, because Mirror's Edge 1 was freaking awesome. FIFA 15, like I said, FIFA 14, new graphics. Apparently the crowd will be more lively. That's cool. And Battlefield Hardline, which was one of my favorite things from the EA press conference, apparently takes the fight from the battlefield to the fight on crime between cops and criminals. So, it's going to be really, really cool. So far, they actually launched a beta at the end of the EA press conference, and I've been playing it, and it's really, really fun. This might be to some Battlefield Hardline gameplay, I'm not sure, but they launched the beta, and so far there are two game modes, one called Heist, and one called Blood Money. Blood Money, there's a stack of money in a specific location. You have to go take money and get back to your vault and lock away the money before the other team kills you. And then heists are sort of both teams, cops and criminals, trying to fight over this package, and you have to go collect it and bring it back. And there's only one package, so you have to fight over it, and it's really cool. It reminds me of Capture the Flag with one flag. So yeah, that was the EA press conference. Next up is Ubisoft, and it was by far my most enjoyed conference of the 4 or 5 that there were. Mainly just from the presenter, Aisha Tyler. She was fantastic, but she made the entire press conference really, really fun hosting it. They started off with some Far Cry 4 stuff, Just Dance 2015, a new thing called Just Dance Now, which I'll talk about, some more stuff on Tom Clancy's Division, a game called The Crew, some more Assassin's Creed Unity stuff, another game called Shape Up, and a game called Valiant Hearts: The Great War, and another Rainbow Six game called Rainbow Six Siege, which I'll talk about in a second. First, Far Cry 4. So, Far Cry 4, they showed a gameplay trailer, not a gameplay trailer, but they showed the first trailer of Far Cry 4, and it looks really, really interesting. It showcases the main villain, I'm assuming is the main villain. They're showcasing the main villain of this Far Cry game, and by far, he is one of the most interesting and cool villains I've ever seen. And he was only in this very short clip that was maybe 2 to 3 minutes long, but I'm already loving him. And his attitude in the game and the things that he does in that trailer, I'm going to get that game regardless of the console that I own. In the trailer, after he brutally stabs a guy, he takes a selfie with you, the protagonist, and that, I laughed really, really hard at that, louder than I have laughed at something in a very, very long time, and that just, Far Cry 4 looks really, really good. Next was Just Dance 15, or 2015, and it's just another Just Dance game. You know, if you've played Just Dance, any other game, you'll know what Just Dance is, and you'll enjoy it. They announced Just Dance Now, too, which is a cool thing where you basically sort of download this app. It's an iOS app called Just Dance Now, and you can play Just Dance using your phone as your sort of controller thing, and you can play with a bunch of different people, so it's like huge games filled with people, and you can pretty much play it anywhere there's a screen. So that was really cool. They showed some more footage. They showed a trailer for Tom Clancy's The Division. During Microsoft, they showed some gameplay of it, where some soldiers got into a firefight, but they showed a trailer of this one, and it was a really, really cool time-lapse of the infection that's taking place in New York City in this game, and it just sort of shows the sort of decline of New York and sort of society over time, and it was a really, really cool showing. The next game is called The Crew. It's a driving simulator, and holy freaking crap, this thing has the United States. That is the map, essentially. And if you ever so desire, you can actually drive from the East Coast to the West Coast, vice versa, and it'll actually take you 2 hours to drive there and back, but you can do that if you ever so please, and that's really, really cool. That's something really interesting to me, and that just caught my eyes. I'm not a big person of racing games, to be honest, but I really want that game just because that really cool dynamic. They showed some more footage of Assassin's Creed Unity, which was just kind of some Assassin's Creed-y stuff. They showed a really cool game called Shape Up, which I'm assuming will use the Kinect and PlayStation Move thing accordingly. Basically, what it does is it sort of tries to make working out fun. Like, I guess their take on it was realizing that gamers aren't very active people and they don't like moving around, so they sort of made working out into a game. Not like Wii Fit, but like, it's kind of hard to explain. So basically, what they showed was like there was a little dance thing where you had to dance and like push notes on a keyboard, and while that you're doing like crunches, so you're losing, like, you're burning calories while you're trying to win the objective. And then there was another one where they were doing push-ups, and the more they pushed up, the heavier objects they got in the back in-game, and it looked really, really cool. I'm not one for exercise. I'm a slouch, or not a slouch, but a potato of the couch variety, and I'm not one for working out, so that looked really cool, and I'm really interested in that, to be honest. Then they showed a thing called Valiant Hearts: The Great War, which is sort of a cartoony take on the World War, and just because it's cartoony does not mean it's not going to be sad or serious. It was really, really sad, the gameplay, or the trailer they showed. Apparently it's based on real World War I story, or World War I or World War II. World War I, apparently it's based on like actual World War I stories, and it follows 4 different characters through their journeys through the trenches of World War I, and everybody on Twitter was freaking out over the feelings that that trailer just evoked, and it looks really, really cool. And the last trailer they showed at the, I keep saying EA, don't I, at the Ubisoft conference, was Rainbow Six Siege. Finally, another Rainbow Six game, and they showed some really awesome gameplay where there was like 2 teams of 4 trying to like capture, or one team was trying to like screw over a hostage, and one team was trying to save it. And it was really, really cool just seeing everybody burst through walls and try to figure out other ways around problems that the other team has showed up, and it looked really, really cool. I'm not sure if it was multiplayer or just single-player stuff, but regardless, that thing looked freaking awesome. It looked really cool. And all the people in the crowd were freaking out because finally another Rainbow Six game. But it's weird that there are 2 Tom Clancy games being developed at one time. But I digress. Ending off day 0 was the Sony press conference, and they showed a lot of stuff there. A lot of console sort of stuff, sort of deals that you get for using their programs and such, and a lot of games too. I think one of the biggest lists of games they announced throughout the entirety of E3. But yeah, just the games they announced or showed footage of. They showed some more footage of Destiny, the shooter they announced a few years ago. They showed some footage of The Order 1886, a game called Entwined, some DLC for Infamous, not Infamous. They showed some more Little Big Planet 3. They showed a game called Bloodborne. They showed some more Far Cry 4 stuff, Dead Island 2. They showed some stuff for Diablo, which was kind of interesting. They showed something for Magicka 2, Grim Fandango, Let It Die, No Man's Sky, Mortal Kombat X or 10, whichever one is correct, Ratchet & Clank, Batman Arkham Knight, and Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. So, let's start at the top of the list. Destiny. They showed a trailer of Destiny, which I think is the first thing that we've actually seen of Destiny, like gameplay-wise, and that's kind of cool. Something that people have been looking forward to for a really long time. The Order 1886, they showed some gameplay of that, where this guy was sort of, I'm assuming, in like an asylum thing, and he was fighting like a werewolf thing, and his bullets weren't doing any good, and that was kind of cool. I don't remember, no, Entwined was a game from an indie developer, I believe. And it's kind of cool. You play as like dragons throughout time, and you're in love with the other dragon, and you're using your sort of dragony abilities to sort of go through a course, and it looked really cool. They showed some DLC for Infamous called Infamous First Light. Pretty sure it's DLC at least. They showed some more footage of Little Big Planet 3, where you can play as 4 characters, the normal character, and then 3 more. One's a bird, one's like a sort of blob guy that can change his size, and I can't think of what the other one is. But 4 characters, or 3 new characters in the original, and Little Big Planet 3. They showed some footage of Bloodborne, which is a really cool sort of, I don't know what to describe it, but it's made by the guy that worked on Demon's Souls and Dark Souls, and a lot of people are considering it's Dark Souls and Demon's Souls' spiritual successor. A lot of people, I guess, were mad that he didn't work on Dark Souls 2, so a lot of people were really interested in that, my friend Jesse included, so I'll have to ask him more about that, because I kind of confused on the plot of that. They showed some actual gameplay of Far Cry 4 in the Sony press conference, which was really, really, really cool. You sort of used like a wingsuit, like sugar gliders, you know, those wingsuits that kind of remind you of sugar gliders, yeah. And then you played with the guy with a gyroscopter, or a gyrocopter, I think it's called. Fun thing about Far Cry 4 on Sony, though, if you own a PS4 and own Far Cry 4, your friend that doesn't own Far Cry 4 that has a PS4 can play with you. So that's kind of a cool concept. I remember playing Mario Kart on my old DS back in the day with my nephews, because we didn't have more than one copy, but we could play with the little System Link thing, and that's a really cool dynamic to add to sort of any game on a big console. They showed a trailer of Dead Island 2, which was hilarious. You're just gonna have to watch that yourself. It's just really freaking funny. Diablo, they announced that they're doing some Last of Us stuff with Diablo. Apparently, in a specific dungeon, they're adding like the special sort of zombies from Last of Us as monsters, so you can fight the Last of Us zombies in Diablo. And that's kind of cool. They showed a funny trailer of Magicka 2. Apparently, they're remastering a game called Grim Fandango, so that's kind of interesting. A new game called Let It Die. I'm not sure what that's about, to be honest. No Man's Sky, you can sort of explore planets and stuff. That's kind of cool. They showed gameplay of Mortal Kombat X, and it looks freaking fantastic. If you're a fan of Mortal Kombat at all, you're going to enjoy it. They showed some footage. They actually showed the theatrical trailer for the Ratchet & Clank movie that's coming out next year. And they announced that they're going to be remastering the original Ratchet & Clank game. So that's kind of cool. If you're a fan of Ratchet & Clank and want to play some more Ratchet & Clank, but in HD new PS4 graphics, you can play that now when it comes out. They announced some stuff about Batman Arkham Knight, which is, I don't know if it's going to be the last game in the Arkham series, but it's certainly another one. And it's really cool. They show some stuff with the Batmobile driving through the city, and that was interesting. And then the Batman attacked the Penguin in his lab, or in his lair, and that was kind of cool. And then to end off their press conference, they showed a trailer for Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. And by that title, I'm assuming it's probably going to be the last Uncharted game. I don't know. If it's a huge money seller, then it's probably not going to be, but at this point in time, I'm going to assume it's the last Uncharted game. But it looks cool. If you're a fan of Uncharted, you'll probably be excited for that. And that pretty much wrapped up the Sony thing. They announced a bunch of stuff. One thing called PlayStation TV. If you're really interested in that, I actually suggest heavily going and watching all of these press conferences because they were fantastic. And the last press conference was Nintendo. Nintendo's press conference was by far my second favorite with the entertainment value. They actually had like really cool, funny shorts in between games made by the people over at Robot Chicken, and they were freaking hilarious. Like I said last, I definitely recommend watching all these press conferences, but if you want to laugh, definitely watch Ubisoft and Nintendo's. They were really freaking funny. They started off the press conference with some stuff for Smash Bros. Wii U. They announced something that's going to be an add-on to future games called Amiibo. They showed some stuff for Yoshi's Woolly World, a Toad game called Captain Toad, the Treasure Tracker, Zelda Wii U, oh my god, the Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire remakes, some stuff for Bayonetta 2, Hyrule Warriors, Kirby the Rainbow Curse, Zero Blade Chronicles, Mario Maker, and a game called Splatoon. So, starting off this list, Super Smash Bros. Wii U, Smash Bros. On the Wii U. Now, apparently you can use your Mii as a fighter in the game, which is really, really cool. The opening, sort of video showed one of the Japanese people in the company versing Reggie, the guy that's the sort of American spokesperson. Their Miis were fighting, and it was really, really cool. Apparently, when you make a Mii, you can use it in Smash Brothers now, and that Mii can be one of three classes. It could be a brawler, a sword fighter, and a gunner. All of which you'd pretty much assume what they mean. A brawler is just somebody that fights bare fists. A sword fighter is a person that's a master swordsman, and a gunner is somebody that uses a gun. And they looked really, really cool. In that sort of showcase of the stuff, though, they announced Amiibo, which will be, if you know what Skylanders or Disney Infinity is with the little action figures, you'll kind of have an idea what Amiibo is. It'll be like a little figurine that you can touch your gamepad on, and for Smash Brothers specifically, you can touch a figure to your gamepad, and you can use that character to whoop other people's Miis as sort of like an add-on, I guess. Apparently it's going to be compatible with a bunch of different games, one of which they announced was Mario Kart 8, which is already out. But apparently that's going to be something that's going to be putting into sort of effect in the coming months and years, so be on the lookout for that. They also showed some footage for Yoshi's Woolly World, which is sort of similar to Kirby's Epic Yarn, I believe. Made by the same people, actually, but it's different. You play as Yoshi again, and it's sort of the world is made of yarn, and your tongue is your best weapon, I guess is the best way to explain it. Captain Toad is a game about Toad, which caught me completely off guard because I'm thinking, okay, Toad's irrelevant, now he has a game, but it looked really cool. It's sort of a interesting sort of top-down look on the Mario world with Toad being the protagonist, and he fought this boss, and it looked kind of cool, to be honest. I didn't think they could ever give me interest in Toad. Like, Toad is just always this annoying character that's been sitting on the sidelines in games, and needless to say, it looked really cool. The next thing they showed some stuff for was Zelda Wii U. Oh my god, it looked freaking beautiful. They showed this sort of vast open field, and Zelda Wii U is going to be another open world game, kind of like the older ones were. And it's going to be really cool because now there are no boundaries. I remember in Wind Waker, you'd have to sort of go linear, and there were certain places you couldn't go to save space. Like, you had to enter in through a certain area, and then you could get to like a main area when you're sailing around. But now you don't. Everything is reachable from any point ever. You want to get to the mountains in the distance, walk there, you can climb the freaking mountains. Everything is trekkable, you can go anywhere, and it looked really cool. They also showed a little bit of footage of what we thought was Link, but after an interview with the Nintendo director, apparently it might not be Link. but that'd be cool regardless. Fighting a giant robot with lasers, which threw me off a little bit, but I'll wait until the game comes out to judge that. It was a little bit weird considering it is a Zelda game. They showed some more footage for Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire Remake. Like I said, some stuff for Bayonetta 2, which they'll be selling with Bayonetta 1, so you can buy both Bayonettas and have the whole story with you. They showed some more stuff for Hyrule Warriors, which is a combination of The Legend of Zelda and Dynasty Warriors, which Nintendo surprisingly decided they wanted to do. But that was really, really cool, to be honest. They showed some more gameplay footage. They've already showed some, but they've already announced that, like, 4 of the playable characters will be Link, of course, Zelda, of course, Impa, who apparently has been out throughout the series, and Midna. If you're a fan of Twilight Princess and you misuse of Midna, which I know some of you do very much, you can play as Midna in Hyrule Warriors, and each of them has sort of really cool different abilities, and it's a really interesting sort of combination of Hyrule in Legend of Zelda and Dynasty Warriors, and I'm really looking forward to it, to be honest. They announced another Kirby game called Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, which was really cool looking. It looked all clay, like I remember Epic Yarn was like made of yarn, but this looks like it's made of clay, and it looked really cool. They announced another game called Zero Blade Chronicles. Mario Maker, which was really, really cool looking. It's, Mario Maker. You get to make Mario maps now. That's awesome. That's something I've wanted to do for a very, very long time and never had, like, a sufficient way to do so, but now you can make Mario maps. And then they showed footage in that sort of trailer for Mario Maker where you can switch between the old graphics, like 8-bit, like the original Super Mario, and the new Super Mario. So that looked really, really cool, and I'm excited for it. And I'm sure Mario fans that have always wanted to make maps will be as excited as I am. And lastly, a game they announced called Splatoon, and it's a shooter, surprisingly enough, coming from Nintendo. And it looked really, really cool. It has an interesting concept. You basically win by covering your map in your team's colored ink. You don't play with normal guns, you play with guns that shoot ink. And you try to cover up as much territory as you can. Whoever has the most territory covered up in your team's ink color by the end wins. And apparently in the game you play as both human and a squid, which you sort of morph between the two at will. You don't have a certain amount of time, but you can do that. Both versions have positives and negatives, of course, because they need balancing. Humans can shoot ink, and squids can move super fast in the own ink. And as another gameplay dynamic, you can, if you walk in enemy ink, you slow down, so you be really quick to shoot other ink down so you can move quick again. And another feature where they show a map of the map you're playing, you can see where your friends are and you can warp to them, or as they put them, you can blast off. You just click on your little friend's icon and you'll blast off to where they are and cover their back or help them out if you need. And for somebody that's played a vast amount of shooters, and by vast I mean Call of Duty and a PC shooter called Combat Arms, that's really helpful, because your friend will just be freaking out because they're like dying or something or need backup, and now you can just push the little icon and just go straight to them and cover them. So that'll make trekking maps super convenient, and it'll add a really cool dynamic to a shooter in general. And to be honest, I'm really, really excited for it. It's probably it's tied up there with Sunset Overdrive of the shooters that I'm really excited for up with these new consoles. And that about sums it up for the press conference information from the weekend. Or not weekend, it's Monday and Tuesday. But that about sums it up for the press conference information. Of course, E3 is still going on. You can watch it if you so desire. I know Twitch is streaming it, IGN is streaming it, so you have two options right there if you'd like to watch E3. They're going to be going around interviewing people, looking at games. There are no more press conferences, unfortunately. Those are my favorite. I'd enjoy the whole floor aspect more if I could actually be at E3, but of course it's sort of a closed thing where you need an invite to. But all the same, E3 this year, the press conferences were really, really good, and I enjoyed them ever so much. This year is a huge year in gaming for games. Last year was the console year, with the console war going on and the new consoles, but this year it's just getting back to nice old games, the place that it really matters, because ultimately, who cares what you play on? You can play on Xbox, you can play on PS3, you can play on Wii U, you can play on PC. Nobody's better than anybody else when it comes to consoles or what you play on, as long as you're playing a game that you enjoy and have fun with. And that's ultimately what gaming is about, a passion and an escape into a world where you don't have to deal with your real life and you get to enjoy somebody else's and have adventures that you'd never be able to have in real life. And that's the beauty of gaming in itself, and that's pretty much the glory of E3 and what it brings. So, hope you guys enjoyed me talking about the games and stuff they announced. If you do, well, I hope you enjoyed, and that's about it, actually. If you'd like, I'm going to leave a link to the Twitch stream in the description where you could go watch the E3, because this is going up on Wednesday, and E3 is still going on. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed. I am Joe, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.